Thank you. I'd like to welcome you to the June 2nd meeting of the Newmarket Town Council, and we will start, as always, with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to go through our agenda, and the first item on our agenda is public forum, and I know that we have a couple candidates here for positions, and we will give you an opportunity to talk, when that comes up on the agenda, so you don't need to speak during public comment. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public forum for anybody else who might wish to speak this evening. And so seeing none, I will close, and I'm assuming that there's nobody on Zoom?
No.
Okay. I will close the public forum at 7:02. So the next item on our agenda are the acceptance of minutes, and we have two meeting minutes to accept this evening. The first is the May 19th non-public meeting minutes, and I would accept a motion.
To approve the non-public meeting minutes.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any changes or questions, concerns? Those were sent out earlier last week, I think last week. Seeing none, if you would call the roll, please.
Aye.
Council Blackstone? Aye. Council Reba?
Aye.
Council Baker?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Council Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
And then the next item that we have is the May 19th regular meeting minutes, and I would accept a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes. I'll second.
Thank you. Any changes or questions, concerns?
There's just one small one. On page 3, the Arts and Tourism Committee is working with the Rec and Business Association to line up sponsors for the arts in the park. And then on its own, we're looking for artists to join us in the evenings of the concerts.
Thank you. Any other changes? Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Council Baker?
Aye.
Council Conley?
Aye.
Council Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
And before we move forward, I would accept a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public meeting that we just had.
I'll make a motion from the non-public meeting. Second.
Any questions? Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Council Sanders?
Aye.
Council Blackstone? Council Reba?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. And then we have the town manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a COVID-19 update. As of June 1st, data has been suppressed by the Department of Health and Human Services, which means we only have between 1 and 4 cases of COVID in the community. This is the lowest we've had in months. Just to let the council know that as of last week, we are no longer getting updates on specific locations. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we had a protocol that we followed, that one individual in town knew the name and address of anybody who had COVID-19, so if a safety personnel had to go to the house, they were prepared for that. That is no longer being done due to the fact that vaccinations have been going out for safety personnel. For total, we had 565 cases in the town, or 5.9% of the population had COVID. I'm sort of going to roll the next two items. As you're aware, when the town council rescinded the mask ordinance, I changed mask policies for municipal buildings and properties. Now the public is welcome not to wear a mask if they've received both vaccinations and are 2 weeks past their second shot. Employees still must wear a mask unless they can provide us with a copy of their vaccination record. One of the things I've been asked to serve on is the school reopening committee, and it's a big difference between how we are able to do it in the schools, because the school still has issue with a large portion of the population cannot get a vaccine. And what I explained to them is that the mentality flipped. That everyone thought the number that we're trying to get to is 70% herd immunity, which is no longer the case. It's to encourage the vaccination by, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're not vaccinated, you should wear a mask. If you're lying to us and you're not wearing a mask, you're gonna get sick. And there's nothing we can do about it. That's individual responsibility. So that's really why we went this route. I think it's been, I would say still, 75 to 80% of the people coming in the building wear masks. It's gonna take time. And we respected their wishes. So the next item is that from the New Hampshire Municipal Association on remote meetings. Since March of last year, public bodies have been authorized to conduct virtual meetings under the Governor's Emergency Order number 12. This authority has been continued as the Governor has renewed his state of emergency every 3 weeks. As the state continues to reopen, the state of emergency will likely end soon, and with it, the authority to meet without a physical location. The Governor's most recent order, issued on May 28th, extended the state of emergency for only 2 weeks, or until June 11th. Before he was doing every 3 weeks. And it's uncertain whether it will be extended again. Odds are it will not. If it is not, the authority to hold entirely virtual meetings will expire on June 11th. There is pending legislation that would put virtual meetings option into statute, but its fate is uncertain, and even if it passes, it will not take effect until July or later. Therefore, I've notified all of our public bodies that if they plan on holding meetings on or after June 12th, they should be held in person with public access at physical locations of the meeting. If the state of emergency is not extended on June 11th, any meeting held after that time without public access at a physical location will be in violation of the right to know law. If we've already posted meetings without a physical location, we need to repost them and give it notice indicating the date, time, and place of the meeting. And given the circumstances where meeting notice is required, newspaper, mail notice, such as land use boards, municipalities, we need to pay for the recost of notification. So that basically means the end of the Zoom meeting for public bodies. We are looking at, so while we say that you cannot participate, have a meeting remotely, members of the body are still allowed to participate remotely under the right to know law but it requires a majority of the board and a place where you can be heard and seen. We are looking at updating technology in council chambers. Instead of having, one of the things we've probably learned from this pandemic is that conference calls are gone, and Zoom is now the thing. So we're going to be trying to upgrade the technology in council chambers, so if a counselor or somebody couldn't participate, they can Zoom in, and we'll have it on the television in the council chambers. On our side is, we also don't think engineers are going to be driving halfway across the state to have a meeting with us any longer. That everything can be done that way, so we're going to be setting up council chambers that will be also a meeting room that we could sit in there and have visual meetings that way with people. That's the big thing that we're looking at too, is that the notion that somebody's going to drive in from Keene to attend an hour-long meeting is gone. So we're just trying to update that. We're also increasing the seating allotments in different meeting areas in the building. This room has not been increased because we're going to wash the carpets before we do so. So that's why there's still 6 feet spacing down here. Council chambers is reset for meetings. And if it's the wish of the council at any point in time, we will be able to go back to council chambers versus the auditorium. Do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a discussion that the council needs to have. I know that there might be different levels of comfort with that. I think we've already seen that the plexiglass is gone. So whatever the will of the council is, I think, we can do a poll to see if people are comfortable meeting in chambers. I mean, chambers, some of you haven't been in council chambers. It's a smaller space.
Acoustics are much better.
Acoustics are better. Yep. We have the same technology, or I would
Probably
say
a better technology up there.
So, if anybody has any comments about it, or we
I'm
could
fine
do a
with
poll.
moving back upstairs.
I'll just go around. Counselor Blackstone.
I like the space. You feel like you're on a podium or something upstairs, like you're trying to, you're like a judge in your.
But is it because of health concerns that? Because I think that's probably the difference. That's what we're kind of exploring right now. Is if you
Yeah,
have
I understand.
concerns
I think
about.
This place, I believe, is more, like, people, I think, feel better where I think the chamber upstairs is a little more confining.
Counselor Grayback?
I think I'm fine upstairs.
I'd be fine with moving back.
Counselor Conley?
Yep.
Moving is fine.
And I am also.
And any counselors, we can bring you upstairs so you can see it. If there's any concern or anything, that we can do that, and we'll let you. We can even do it right after this meeting. We can walk
That's
upstairs.
a good idea.
So we will now meet back in council chambers.
Well, I think that the other piece of that is it allows, because we were, different committees, competing committees couldn't meet at the same time. And
Right.
so this will give us a second, which we really need.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to go along with that, as of May 30th, in the state of New Hampshire, 949,000 people had received their first dose of the vaccination, or 59%. 657,316, or 48% of the population is fully vaccinated. We worked with our partners at Seacoast Health Network and the Newmarket School District and held a vaccination clinic for the students on Saturday, May 22nd. 160 students received their vaccine. Well, that number sounds kind of low. Also understand that a lot of students drove to one of the other sites as soon as they found out it was going to be available to them. And they will be having a second clinic on June 12th. You may have heard that they are rolling back the state sites for vaccinations. They are not allowing any more first doses to go out, and they're only going to be giving out the second one, and odds are they will all be closing on June 30th. Their intent is to have the vaccines go from the government to the healthcare providers. I mean, right now, if you go to a Hannaford's or a Walmart, there's usually a big sign that says you can get your vaccine here. But they also want to get it back in the hands of their individual physicians so they can discuss with people, people who may have concerns with the vaccine, their issues, and they can discuss it with a medical professional. The next item is on your agenda this evening for confirmation is my appointment of Greg Jordan as the next Chief of Police of Newmarket. A law enforcement veteran for over 22 years' experience, Jordan is currently serving as a lieutenant in the Newmarket Police Department. Well, actually, now he's the acting chief. He has served the town of Newmarket since 1999, rising through the ranks from patrol officer, sergeant to lieutenant. During this time, he's received numerous awards and was named Newmarket Police Officer of the Year in 2000, 2001, and 2002. In 2019, he was promoted to lieutenant and overseeing patrol division. There, he's responsible for all criminal and special investigation, prosecutions, youth services, and special programs. He's been in the forefront of community policing in Newmarket, worked with Newmarket Alliance for Substance Abuse to address the opioid issues in the community. He began his career in 1999 here in his hometown of Newmarket. So later on, I'm going to ask you to confirm my appointment of Acting Chief Jordan to be Police Chief Jordan. And the next item, as Councilor Blackstone mentioned at the last meeting, we received a letter from the Planning Board, it should be in my report, that stated we requested review and comments about a request from John Tyson to build a single-family home on Neal Mill Road. First thing I want to make it clear, as of June 1st, we have not received a formal request from Mr. Taylor to build on a Class 6 road. So before we go and do the next step, we actually need to trigger it by receiving the request from the individual. We know he went to the Planning Board, but he's never made the request of the council. So we made him aware of that, and so that's why we have not gone any further with that at this point. With that in mind, if we receive a request on a build on a Class 6 road, I'll write a resolution addressing it with a recommendation for the council to act. This vote would ultimately be held in the July meeting, since we'll need 2 readings. I want to clarify a few things that people may have a misconception on. There is no public hearing associated with this. This isn't a planning board function, this is a council function, so it's a resolution with a recommendation. There's no other bodies that get involved in this. You receive the input from the planning board and from the Conservation Commission. If the council votes to allow another body to attend or anybody else, that's the wish of the council. So we're not inviting, when you get the packet, it's gonna look exactly like any other item the council votes on with a recommendation from staff. Because I've been getting a lot of emails and letters and they're trying to simplify it to act like you normally do. So that's why it's gonna look that way. The next item, as the council is aware, we've been working with Revision Energy to establish a solar farm at 210 New Road. It's the Wilson property. The next step is actually a significant one for the project, and it's a system impact study, which will be done by Eversource. This is an engineering study that evaluates the impact of a proposed interconnection or transmission service request. So basically, whatever energy that electricity will generate from those solar panels and putting it back in the system, this study that to see the safety and reliability of the transmission system. This study would cost Revision an estimated $18,000. So this is a big step forward. So I'm having legal counsel review the documentation prior to signing any of that. Then we also need, other steps would be land lease, because they'll be leasing land from us, and there'll be a pilot agreement payment, and some other documents that we've been working on. So I just want to give the council a heads up that that's going on as well. And finally, community development. As you know, I've entered an agreement with MRI to examine our planning, zoning, code enforcement department, and I've also asked them to look at facilities management at this part. They will be coming in on June 17th to talk with staff and myself to get some ideas on how everything is set up. And that's all I have tonight, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the town manager? Bless you. Piper.
I have a question about the solar array. Does the town make the, so they're leasing the land from us. I guess, do we make the money off the solar power generated or just the leased of the property?
That is one of the things we're negotiating.
Okay.
We make money, we could. It may be more beneficial if we do a different kind of agreement, that's what we're working on. But we also make money from, we can tax those solar panels because it's a structure. So not only are we leasing the land that they're on, but we tax their building that's on the land. So that's another area that we receive the revenue.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Oh, Counselor Conley.
Do we have a sense of sort of the extent of the impact study and kind of how long it will take to
I don't.
finish up?
I just got the email last week that they were requesting it, and I want to brief with the council to just let you know if there was any if I saw any red flags from here, I would have said, don't do it. But it sounds like go forward with the next phase.
Just to follow up on that, so is this, is it expected that issues, is it to evaluate if there,
Yes, you're right.
What the
We
issues
don't
might
know
be?
if there are issues.
Okay.
Depends on the lines, depends on the infrastructure. I think they're even gonna check to see where the sun comes in out there. So,
Right.
I mean, it's a pretty open area, but they do need to that's why they have to do the study.
and do they feel confident in,
I don't think Revision would have gone this far if
Right.
they didn't feel confident.
I had a couple other just small items. Two follow-up questions that you might not have the answer to, but I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned is there any follow-up on the American Rescue Plan funding that we might receive or plan for that?
Well, I've asked all staff, because again, I was talking to another group, that usually when you have a federal program like this, you get regulations like this thick. And I showed people this is how big the regulations are. They thought that was the book. I go, no, it's like one paragraph. It's basically what I outlined to the council last week, that we're shooting in the dark kind of to what we can and cannot spend it to, a little iffy that if we spend something, that they come back later and say, oh, you did something wrong. So what I've asked for all the department heads to do is please submit to me projects that they may have, determine whether or not they are, can fall under that. We also know there's gonna be another infrastructure bill out there, but it may be in, form of loans or grants, not just a lump sum like we're receiving this time. You know, we've got, everything's allowed in there from, we're checking to see if, I think the council's aware that fire and police were allowed to get extra funds, get paid a bonus during the pandemic because they're frontline workers. That was one of the most frustrating things, and that we want to look into, is that the other frontline workers of the DPW, the Environmental Services Department, that need to make sure that those things were still operating during the pandemic. Your roads got plowed, even if, and to be honest, the one department that I said, even if there's an outbreak in the department, they have to still come to work, which we did have the right to do, is water and sewer. Because at the end of the day, your water and sewer still needs to be working, and they need to have those people in here. But they weren't considered by the state as frontline workers. So they did not provide them any additional pay, which I would like to see if there's a way I could do something with those funds to thank everybody who came in and worked during this entire pandemic. I was trying to last year with some of the funds, and we weren't able to, but I'll do the same year.
And then my other question was if there's any follow-up on the goal setting with Primex.
I have not heard from Rick. I gotta double check.
And then lastly, I wanted to mention, I was reading something about state legislature, and in years past, our state senator, Martha Fuller Clark, she was our state senator, always requested to come and present to the town council, and we haven't gotten that request, I think because our current state senator is new, and so I could reach out to her if it was the will of the council to have, because I think that they're probably winding up their legislative session.
Yeah.
In the next weeks.
Yep.
So to give a recap, what do you think?
Aston's gonna be in Craig's tomorrow morning.
She is, yeah.
I would suggest probably maybe August meeting, because right now it's budget, and they're probably,
Right.
going crazy with that, but either July or August.
That would be
Councilor
helpful.
Biggs.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah, you would like that? Everyone else is in agreement? Then I can reach out to her about our August meeting and see if that's a possibility, if not September. And that was all I had. So, committee reports. Are there any committee reports? I am not seeing any. The request to speak button is working. Oh, Councilor Kuiper.
The parking committee met and discussed different types of parking technology. We didn't really come to any grand conclusions or anything. You know, we'll continue to look at different types of parking technology and see what's going to work for Newmarket.
Was the chopstick one of the technologies?
Great. I don't know if there are any others. I'm not seeing any. I will say that the Energy and Environment Committee has met a couple times in the last week to review RFPs for the Solarize campaign. So we met with Revision Energy last week, and we met with 603 Solar last night to review their responses to the RFP and ask some additional questions. And there should be, I expect, a recommendation to the council for our next meeting, for a first reading. So, and the idea, just in case anyone is not familiar with the solar, and we would obviously talk about it during, if we have a resolution to discuss, but the idea of a Solarize program is, we would offer, basically it's just offering a discount on the solar panels to primarily residential customers. There could certainly be some businesses that might be interested also, but the focus is on residential customers. So it'd be a specified amount of time, maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's 6 months, where, basically there's a deal. And it's to incentivize solar installations. We currently have approximately 60 solar installations, residential solar project installations in Newmarket. So the goal is to double that. So, and that's all for the Energy and Environment Committee. So seeing no other committee reports, we will move on to old business, and we have 2 resolutions this evening. The first is, sorry, I'm opening it. Resolution 2020-2021-51, wastewater treatment plant Great Bay Total Nitrogen General Permit. And I would accept a motion to approve that resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-2021-51, wastewater treatment plant Great Bay Total Nitrogen NPDES permit.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have Mr. Gregg here to talk about it.
So the wastewater treatment plant gets a discharge permit from the EPA, which allows us to discharge into the Lamprey River. Within that permit, there's limitations that we must meet. EPA has decided to create a new general permit that regulates total nitrogen, and it affects basically 13 area wastewater treatment facilities, 12 communities. The town has the option of opting into the new general permit or opting out of the general permit. The reason EPA is doing this is because they feel that they can regulate nitrogen, and it's a common item between the 12 communities. The other 11 communities have selected to opt into the new general permit. The general permit it sets a new mandatory limit for total nitrogen that the wastewater treatment plants must meet, and then it also has some long-term voluntary non-point sources. EPA has indicated that if you do not if you select to opt out of the permit, then they will give you a new permit, your own permit, that will have limits of technology. What that means is a limit of 3 milligrams per liter of total nitrogen concentration and a mass loading limit. If you opt in, we would be receiving just a mass loading limit. But as part of opting in, we would also have to create a plan and submit it by July 31st. The most important things within that plan is the effluent monitoring, limitations in monitoring. And the reason for that is they want you to help to contribute to monies or contribute to monitoring the bay to see what the status of it. The second piece is develop an adaptive management framework, voluntary. And then part 2 of it is to it sets new effluent standards for TN for wastewater treatment facilities. And how that was arise is based on our current flow, and then it's multiplied times 3 milligrams to liter, or 8 milligrams to liter to give us that limit. Under our old permit, how it was done is we were given an 8 limit on our design flow. So this is a tightening of the limit. In a nutshell, what it does for Newmarket is if we opt out, we cannot meet that 3 milligram per liter limit. We can meet the mass limit, but we cannot meet the concentration limit, which means we would have to upgrade the facility to put in some sort of filtration. And the filtration would cost approximately $4 to $6 million is the estimate. To opt into the permit, we'd have to do our submittal, and the estimated cost over the 5-year term of the permit would be $150,000 to $200,000 over the term of the permit. So I recommend that the town opt into the new Great Bay Total Nitrogen Permit.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? I will agree that, math wasn't always my strong suit, but $160,000 is a whole lot less than 4 to 6 million.
I say it's a no-brainer.
Right. So I'm not seeing any questions or comments, so if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Oh, my glasses are here. So the next resolution that we have is Resolution 2020-2021-50, and it's the wastewater treatment plant solids disposal contract, and I would accept a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-2021-50 wastewater treatment plant solids disposal contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, this is the pleasant item. So the wastewater treatment plant, as a byproduct of its process, generates approximately 14 tons of solids that needs to be disposed of a week. Several years ago, we went out to try and we direct mailed several different firms to try and solicit bids to get good prices to dispose of the solids. We only received 2 quotes at that point in time. The reason is that a land application, the people that are actually doing it, is that they were full, and now it's become an issue with PFAS and other chemicals that are being spread across. So it's being very difficult. The other reason is we produce a Class B sludge and not a Class A sludge. The difference between the 2 sludges is that the quality, the Class A can be used on land, and Class B is a much more restrictive kind of solids. The other item is that for some of these companies and some of them are from Canada, they want to be able to haul a large amount of volume because it's not worth them coming down and getting a small dumpster of solids, and that's all we have because of the limitations of the wastewater treatment facility. So they would rather come down and get like a double truckload of the solids so they can reduce their costs and make some money or do something with it. So it's really limited of who can take our solids. Our current contract ends on December 31st of this year, and Waste Management has reached out to me and offered a new contract because they would like to continue taking our solids to the landfill at a 3.5% increase per year over the next 3 years. So what I'm bringing you tonight is whether you would like to take that contract at 3.5% per year and lock it in, or go out to bid and see what we can get.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'm
please.
recommending locking in. It's very volatile right now with the Newmarket, as the director said, with chemicals, PFAS, those kind of things. And solid waste in general for those kind of facilities is we had the same issue as it came to Casella for waste management. We did one more year extension because of the volatility in the market. So I'd recommend the same. I'd recommend that we do it.
Are there any questions or, Counselor Kuiper?
What would it cost to produce a sludge, or is that not even a possibility with our system?
It is a possibility. As I brought in here before, I'm moving forward with a first step of getting the solids drier. That's one of the projects as I brought in earlier. The next process is to bring in and look at dryers, which would actually take our sludge from going from a 22% sludge, solids to a 90% dryness. So we'd basically take our 700 tons down to 200 tons. And then it would also make it a Class A solid.
Okay.
So it would severely reduce what it is, but then it would also give a more beneficial use to it.
This is the dewatering?
Yes. So, but the first thing I got to do is get it drier, because it's very expensive with those dryers. It's much cheaper if it's a 22% solid versus an 18% solid to get it to the 90. So
Okay.
you're better off to get it as dry as you can first, and then use a dryer.
Thank you.
Counselor Conley?
So, if we lock in this particular contract, that doesn't prohibit us from continuing to pursue this other avenue of
No, it
getting
does
things
not.
drier?
It does
Okay.
not.
Okay. Right,
Yeah,
I just wanted
it
to
does not.
confirm.
I'm just gonna ask that people use their buttons, just so I can, keep track of the meeting.
Can I do this instead of a button?
Sure. Counselor Blackstone?
So, to follow up on Tatiana's question, are we going to use the 3 years to then develop a drying technology, so at the end of 3 years, we're not stuck again?
So we're in the process right now of doing the design to get it to from 18 to 22. And at the same time, we're actually out looking at different technology and evaluating which technology is the best for us.
Yeah, because then it'd be good to look at the 3 years as maybe some kind of a window that we have to.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Okay.
We're not sitting still while we're moving forward.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any other comments. I will just say that from the last several years on the Energy Committee, and we've talked about solid waste quite a bit, that the 3.5% doesn't surprise me in the least.
No, I think it's a good deal for
Yeah.
us.
So I'm not seeing any other comments, so if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor,
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone,
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck,
Aye.
Counselor Creeper,
Aye.
Counselor Conley,
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein,
Aye.
motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So now we have several nominations and appointments to consider. The first being the nomination of Gregory Jordan as the Chief of Police. And I would accept a motion to approve that nomination.
I'll make a motion that we approve Gregory Jordan as Chief of Police.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Did you want to speak to that, please?
Sure. As I mentioned in my report, you all know Acting Chief Jordan. This also has a 3-year contract, which can be renewed at the end. It's exactly the same as Chief True had. So that's what the other appointment approval is. So it's for both. It's for the appointment and the contract.
Oh.
So
Right. Do we need to amend the?
if it's on a friendly amendment's fine. If to include the contract, approval of contract.
Any questions? Or Counselor Blackstone?
Yeah, I would just like to say that I think that promoting from within, if possible, is a great idea. I believe that kind of helps recruitment. You know, if people see that, you know, you come here, you do a good job, you have big upside potential. I support internal development when possible.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Sanders,
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone,
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck,
Aye.
Counselor Creeper,
Aye.
Counselor Conley,
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein,
Aye.
motion passes 6-0.
And congratulations. The next item that we have is for John Belrose for the, cemetery trustee, with a term to expire expire in April of 2023. And I would accept a motion to approve that application.
I'll make a motion that we approve John Bellero's application for cemetery trustee with the term expiring on April 2023. Second.
Thank you. I know that John is here. I don't know if you wanted to say anything. I would extend the opportunity if you're interested.
I don't think I have much to say, other than I do have a lot of experience in the business, so I think it's a good chance for me to actually provide some service to the community, which I've not been able to do prior to this.
Great.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much. If I'm not seeing any comments or questions, so if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Brayback?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Next, we have a vacancy on the town council to fill, and so we have two applicants, and we received 2 letters of interest. And for anyone not familiar with the process, I feel like we've done it a lot. We basically we will give each person the opportunity to speak to the council. We'll give the council an opportunity to ask any questions. Once we have gone through that, we can deliberate if there are any other further comments, and then we will vote by saying the name of the person that we support. In the event of a tie, we'll talk to the town manager.
Don't talk to me. I don't vote, but I know.
We'll cross that bridge if we get to it. So I will just invite each of the candidates up. So I will start with Brian Ward, if you wanted to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, to those who don't know me, my name is Brian Ward, and I have lived in the Seacoast for 29 years and in Newmarket for the past 4. I'm a patient safety healthcare reporter, and prior to my current position, I covered town council and town politics in both Newmarket and Stratham for the Exeter newsletter for several years. I want to join the council because, like many my age, I'm making plans about the future and of settling down, and I want my future to be in Newmarket. I've grown to love this town, its music, and its energy, and I want to give back to it and help it grow and prosper. If chosen, an issue I want to address is housing. I want to make more opportunities for people around my age to buy a home in town and possibly stay in the town, as I know many people who love the community but end up moving out of Newmarket and the Seacoast because they cannot afford their first home or the rents go up. So I would hope to try to find ways to give more opportunities for people to move into town and stay in town, bolster new businesses, bring in first young families, for that new school we spent all that time fighting over. And I have other issues, but I don't want to ramble as I want to, so that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for?
Right.
Yeah. No? Oh, Councillor Conley.
I did find my request to speak button. Brian, you mentioned that one of the things that's important to you is affordable housing. Have you given any thought to approaches that you think would be useful or valuable, or things that you'd like to see the town tackle?
Yes, I would like to look back at the zoning ordinances. I know many people who are trying to expand their houses to make more room for either in-laws and other family members or potential renting units. Right now, the supply for renting units is pretty much down across the coast and down in Newmarket. So any new buildings or sorry, a little tongue-tied. We can locked up all COVID, so. But yeah, I would really want to start first by looking at the zoning ordinances to see what opportunities there are for expanding on existing buildings and structures, and before we do the big step of, looking at new land for new construction. But that's really where I would like to start first, by looking at the law to see where we can get those opportunities.
I have a question. You had mentioned your experience as a reporter. I'm just curious what other experiences you have that might benefit a position on the town council.
Well, I was also a Boy Scout, so there was that. But this would actually be my first time being elected to a town council position, or really any town position. But it's something I want to try to do and try to help out my town, so I decided to put my name in.
Thank you. Councilor Blackstone.
If you are nominated tonight, will you run for election when your term is up?
I think that it depends on how well I do in the next couple months. But yes, that is actually, in seriousness, something I heard. Again, this is something I've never done before, but if I feel like I'm still the right person for the job by the time elections come, I would put my name in. If I wasn't, I would gracefully step back.
I'm not seeing any other requests to speak. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then the next applicant is Robert, is it Ristich?
Yeah.
I'll let you say it.
Yeah, sorry, it's not an easy one. Hi, I'm Bob Rustici. And I did get the newsletter from the SBA, and that sort of piqued my interest as to the vacancy. And so just kind of quick overview of where I'm at. I have 5 years in Newmarket, many more years in Nashua. So I've been kind of in New Hampshire for a while, but I've also been in other parts of the country and the world prior to that. Currently, I am working. I own a business in internet marketing, so if you ever talk to me about Google, it'll be a very long conversation, so don't do that. As I mentioned, I have my own business, but we've got about 7. We're sort of employee-owned a little bit too, so it's kind of different. Prior to that, I was with Digital Equipment Corporation, which was a big employer down in southern New Hampshire for quite some time. Also, I do volunteer work with the SCORE organization. I don't know if you may be familiar with that, but they do, and I've been doing that for 14 years. So I'm a mentor for there, helping businesses start. And I know that one things I talked to Tony beforehand, and she mentioned was the banking committee in particular. I do take care of the books in my own business, financial stuff, so numbers I'm not afraid of. So that's kind of I have a lot of marketing experience, so it's all kind of like different background in that. So, and I'm sure the question is, why did I be so foolish to look at doing this? I've been watching too much TV, so I think it's time for me to occupy my mind on other things. My business is doing quite well, and so I'm not as concerned about making sure that that's on the right footing. And I've never done this before, and my daughter had done the note-taking for the Kittery town council, and she mentioned to me prior to this and once before, councils are probably have more impact on people's lives than the president, so you should probably pay attention to him. So I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. And not that I want to be president, because that's no interest there. So that's kind of where my motivation is.
Great, thank you. Councillor Conley.
Mr. Rustici, you mentioned that one of the things that's important to you is to kind of giving back to the community, and that was one of your motivations for applying. What sort of areas do you think that you'd like, that are of particular interest to you in terms of town government that you would see yourself contributing to?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always start out small if you're going to approach a bigger issue, and I think there's some terribly big issues to be tackled, but I think there's some very small things like clean energy we can start attacking. I mean, I thought it was great to hear about the solar farms. I think that's a really, and you can do lots of things from a city level to just encourage that to happening. So I affectionately like to say is I have 6 grandkids, and I don't want them angry at me because I think we have been the best stewards in my generation in terms of working on some of those issues. And so I think clean energy is kind of like high on my personal list of things that need to be addressed.
Thank you. Councilor Blackstone.
I'd like to ask the same question. If you are, nominated tonight, would you run for re-election?
Sure, but I'm not really sure what that involves, so I'll have to kind of figure that out. I would anticipate probably have to do something with a Facebook page, which I have a great fear of, even though I do a lot of Facebook advertising in my business. So, yeah, I think I'm not afraid of going door to door, but it's kind of an interesting concept for me. And of course, similar to him, I didn't make sure I'm actually qualified to come back and do it again.
Counselor Kuiper.
I just wanted to actually say to both of you that whoever doesn't end up on the town council, I'd strongly urge you to consider running in March or filling. I think there's vacancies on the planning board. I think there's an alternate spot, maybe.
I'm not sure anymore.
I thought there was a spot on the planning board and the zoning board, but either way, there will be openings. Oh, they did? Okay. Well, anyway, in March, there will be countless numbers of spots on the, open. And I just, encourage you to, if this doesn't end up here today, to pursue that, because we definitely appreciate that you came in here, and this can be a little intimidating, and this is, I think, the 3rd time or 4th time that we've done this in the last year, and it's like always a little weird, I think, for us too. It's not an ideal system, but obviously we can't have a special election every time, so I'll just say it's almost a little bit easier to do this, to run on the ballot than it is to stand there like this, so I would encourage you to do that, if you feel so called in March. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just second that. If not the planning board or budget committee or town council, there are plenty of other committees, Energy and Environment Committee being one, that have vacancies all the time. So we need good people to. We can only pick one, but we need good people to serve on all of our elected or appointed boards. So, are there any other questions? Councilor Conley.
I don't have a question, but I did want to just echo what Tony and John have said. Before I got involved in town council, I honestly was not aware of the tremendous need for people to provide service in a wide variety of areas. And so when these folks say, we can only pick one person, and I'm already stressed out about it, but when they say there are other opportunities and that you should pursue those, they're really, really being very genuine and actually asking you and inviting you and please encouraging you, please, 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 to consider looking into these other opportunities as well. Because before I became involved, I wasn't aware of how many of these posts go unfilled and how great the need is, and how many people are doing just way more than their fair share of work just to keep things going. So please, 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 whatever happens today, consider finding ways to get involved.
And I'll just ask the same question that I had asked of Brian, and that's, what experiences in your professional life or personal life do you think could assist you, that you've had, do you think could assist you in working on town council?
Yeah, I do have a fair amount of business experience, and so that, obviously, if it's looking to grow within Newmarket, I could definitely bring to table what that involves in doing that. So I would say that's probably the strongest suit is really looking at that. And then just, I've, done many types of work and jobs, so it's kind of, I'm flexible at sort of understanding things. But yeah, government is one thing I haven't really ever been involved in, so that would be new.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
So, this is, if there are any conversations or questions or comments that counselors might want to make that, don't involve the applicants, now would be the time before we cast our votes. Everyone's clear about the process? Okay. Then if you could call, and so again, with the process, so you would say the name of the, of the person that you are supporting. Okay. If you would call the roll, please.
Counselor Sanders?
Brian Ward?
Counselor Blackstone?
Brian Ward.
Counselor Brayback?
Brian Ward.
Counselor Kuiper?
Brian Ward.
Counselor Conley?
Brian Ward.
Counselor Weinstein?
Robert Ristisi.
So Brian,
I can swear him in.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You wanna-
Please raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you solemnly swear that you will bear faith and true allegiance to the United States of America and the state of New Hampshire and the town of Newmarket, and will support the constitutions and town charter thereof, so help you God?
I do.
Do you solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent upon you as town councilor, according to the best of your abilities, agreeably to the rules and regulations of the state constitution, the laws of the state of New Hampshire, and the charter of the town of Newmarket, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You can have a seat over there.
Welcome, counselor.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's a good thing you could start right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
with the election of a new counselor,
thank you.
you also have a vacancy in the vice chair of the town council that you should fill.
Yes. I would accept any nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Helen Sanders for vice chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations? Do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
So seeing no other nominations, if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Sanders?
Abstain.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Brayback?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0-1.
Thank you.
Did you?
Oh.
As a new member.
Oh,
Oh,
Council
to
Ward.
Counselor Ward.
Oh I'm so sorry.
I didn't even.
People talk
I just
about
remember
it.
being in that
Yeah.
position less than a year ago.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion passes 6-0-1.
Yeah, Madam Chair,
Yes.
with the turnover in the council this past year, I think at the next meeting, I was going to do the, sort of the class on
Yep.
new council, the roles and rules and regulations of the council meeting and decorum and those kind of things, just so we can have everybody in the room and do it for once instead of on Zoom. So,
Right, we had talked about doing that, and
We did.
then knowing that Zachary was going to resign at our last meeting, now would be our next meeting, and we don't have a whole lot on the agenda, so
Right.
it will be a good night for that. And then, I can't speak for anyone else. I'm not feeling super willing to go through the committee assignments again. I certainly would. But we can talk about, so some things will have to be adjusted a little bit. But the previous counselor's committee assignment was the budget committee, which I mean, I think it's
That's
a
a good
really good way to learn about kind of where everything goes, so, okay. And then we can kind of look at some of the others that were, I think it was the oversight, the ordinance, committee. Was that it?
I think that was, yeah, because Councilor
Yeah.
Dumont was the chair on that
Right.
one.
So we can, maybe we have to figure that out, but, who else is sorry on that? Is it Counselor
Oh, was it,
Lee? Right.
right?
Oh, that might not be bad. But we don't have anything coming up, so. So then moving on, we have, Patrick Reynolds, who, is, let's see, it's for the Lamprey River Advisory Council, and I would accept, or committee, and I would accept a motion to approve that, nomination.
I'll make a motion to approve Patrick Reynolds for the Lamprey River Advisory Committee.
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Abstain.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Counselor Ward? Motion passes 6-0-1.
I will say that that is one of these, one of these committees that, Newmarket can actually have 4 representatives, and that's the second one that's filled, so we still have 2 more vacancies, if anybody is interested in the community.
So delighted to hear that there is a vacancy.
I'm thrilled that, that he wanted to do it. And the way, and this one works a little bit differently because then it goes to the Lamprey River Advisory Committee, and then they have to approve it from there. So next we have Joan DiOrio for a library trustee with a term to expire April 2024, and I would accept a motion to approve that application.
I'll make a motion, we approve Joan DiOrio as library trustee with a term to expire April 2024.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Counselor Sanders?
Aye.
Counselor Blackstone?
Aye.
Counselor Braybeck?
Aye.
Counselor Kuiper?
Aye.
Counselor Conley?
Aye.
Counselor Weinstein?
Aye.
Counselor Ward?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Fantastic. And we have no resolutions in the first reading. Was there any correspondence to the town
There was
council?
none.
Any closing comments? I am seeing none. I have a hard time not saying anything at the end. I'm gonna say. I will say one thing. So I had the opportunity and the absolute pleasure to have a walk with the senior center this morning and a member of the Conservation Commission, Ellen Snyder, at the Wigan Farm Conservation Area. And these walks have been so educational, especially, I mean, they've always been really great. It's been kind of more recreation based, but the last bunch that Kim has put together have been guided tours. And so it's just been incredibly informative. And, you know, it was nice. We did the one on the Sweet Trail with Suzanne Peterson a few weeks ago, and we did one out in, gosh, where were we? I don't know, Barrington, I think. And then this one was not just, I mean, that from a conservation perspective, it was really cool, but then also just from a historical perspective and kind of learning more about our community right here. I live sort of around the corner from that, and so like learning that that's my watershed and some of the plants that grow there and how to introduce those into your, just so, it was incredible information. And so, and I bring that up because they're having another presentation through the Conservation Committee, and I think it is, let me see if I have the date. I feel like it's the 16th of June. Does that ring a bell to you? Or the 14th, I'm not sure, but it's coming up in the next week or two. And so I highly encourage, it's gonna be, I think she said it was in the afternoon, maybe 4:30 to 6 or 4 to 6, something like that. And so, I would absolutely encourage people to take that opportunity. So that's a Conservation Commission walk, not just for the senior center. And I like hitch on to the senior center stuff, so, I mean, anybody can certainly, I like to think that, I don't know, I'm an honorary Newmarket senior. So, Counselor Sanders.
I just wanted to let everybody know who exactly can attend these. Is it open to the public? Is it just open to seniors for the ones sponsored by the senior center? And if so, what age group qualifies as
Right.
senior?
I think that anyone can attend, but you do have to go through the senior center. So it's not.
Pre-register?
Yeah, you have to register through the
Okay.
senior center. I don't think that they would turn anyone away, but there's not application, but a registration process.
We prefer the term wise elder.
Right. Yes, I do too. Counselor Baybeck.
I just wanted to remind folks that Bloom in Newmarket is doing their annual plant sale on Saturday, I believe it is, at the library. So if anyone's interested in purchasing some plants and supporting those efforts, they do a great job of keeping the gardens around town looking nice and are definitely trying to work within water restraints now. So that's happening on Saturday.
That's it.
Thank you.
Isn't that right at the library at 8 a.m.? It's really early.
The time is escaping me. I'm sorry.
It's like 8
I
or
didn't
9.
play
Yeah,
my
it is
announcement.
early.
But I do believe there's a sign at the library as you drive by currently.
There might be one right out front too in their garden, I think. Counselor Kuiper.
I just wanted to quickly say congratulations to the Newmarket seniors that are graduating a week from Friday. It's been a long, strange year for all of us, but for them, even more so. And just congratulations for hanging in there.
Seriously.
It's a nice way to end our meeting. Not that if there are any other comments, I welcome them, but I'm not seeing any. So I will consider us adjourned. Thank you.